Hi, and welcome to our series on evidence-based law firm optimization. Today, we're going to focus specifically on revenue, identifying the various areas of function and dysfunction within how we create revenue in order to optimize our financial performance. As an easy starting point, what we need to be able to think about is just a couple of fast questions. Where is our growth coming from? Is it coming from the right area? Are we producing the right quality of growth? How do we improve the quality of growth? In fact, how do we define growth quality in the first place? How do we ensure that our best performing people become the norm of our organization? How do we know whether our new recruits are doing well or not? How do we know whether we should have permanent staff or maybe more a flexible staff environment? What are the key impacts of the people that potentially are no longer here? Hi, my name is Andre Guin, and we're going to discuss through possibly a practical application of how we can optimize the profitability of our legal firm. As we can see from our scorecard, our billings has actually been in slight decline from our previous period. In addition to that, we also notice that the amount of units that we charged out previously is a little bit greater than what we have in the current period. Our non-chargeable units have in fact improved as well. So we need to be able to identify what are the key drivers to reduce revenue, reduce profitability, and obviously the way that we optimize our realization and productivity rates. Our goal today is to practically demonstrate how we can optimize our revenue performance within our legal practice. What we have in front of us is a list of our staff and how they've billed their revenue during the given period of time. Now, obviously one of the first questions was, how do we identify the issue of revenue performance, i.e. either the decline or the improvement of our revenue performance? So the way I solve this typically is by starting off at least, looking at our best performers. As we can see, Brian is our best performer for the period, doing about $400,000 of revenue. Now, in order to get a perspective on where this growth or lack of growth has come from, we need to identify some of these areas of dysfunction. And the way we do that is through some form of pattern recognition. Our traffic light system provides us with an instant ability to identify potential areas where we need focus. Obviously, in this case, January is our worst performing month. Why has that happened? Well, very easily we can see some of our top performers have had poor billing cycles during the January period. Now, obviously, this could be for leave reasons. However, from a financial performance perspective, maybe we need to re-engineer the way that we provide leave so that we can smoothen out our revenue cycle. Or maybe it makes sense. But at least now we know. What we also identified is that the same person, Brian, actually had a fairly abysmal April. So what is this all about? By double-clicking on Brian's April cell, we can identify a quick overview of what happened during that period of time. Well, as we noticed, Brian actually had a total revenue of $2,400, over 6,000 hours, or pardon me, actually in this case it's not hours, but units that were unbilled. And this allows us to easily identify what those units were. So by looking at the various work types, I can identify that we noticed there was a lot of time that was spent doing things other than billing. Obviously, this impacted Brian's performance for the month of April fairly dramatically. What actions we can take? Well, that really depends on our firm, but at least we know, and we know within 30 seconds. We also have a clear perspective as to the clients that Brian worked on during the given period of time, as well as the ability to identify which ones were highly profitable, our patterning, and which provides ones weren't that profitable. A quick overview, yet there is still a lot of detail here that we may not want to deal with exactly at this point in time. So we might want to go more to the strategic or macro level within our review process. Well, let's turn off those traffic lights. And the first thing is, maybe it's easier to look at our business from a team performance viewpoint, or some people would call it the business unit view. We have identified very specific business units within our firm, and this gives us a quick profile of the revenue spread for each of these business units. Obviously, in this case, our commercial business unit is our best performing unit. We can even get a quick profile as to what the profitability of this unit is. By just going to the menu, we can identify how each of these units are performing or contributing towards the gross margin of our organization. Both from a revenue viewpoint and from a profit viewpoint, commercial is doing a great job. Actually, this is maybe where we can get a instant view on our profitability performance. And it just shows very clearly that there are certain periods of time where, let's even say, with regards to estates, even in fact our commercial division, in fact there were 2 months where they dramatically underperformed. What do we do in our business to reduce those underperforming months? We know where they are, and we can start thinking about how we change our seasonal structure in terms of improving this performance. Let's remove our traffic lights to identify which business units have in fact grown and which ones have been in decline. The easiest way we do this is we go to our periods menu item and look at the variance. In other words, just purely the variance from the previous period. What this shows us is that there are sort of 3 key business areas or business units that have been in decline. The one's called the retired business unit. Well, I suppose that's fairly self-explanatory. However, it is relatively significant, and it doesn't seem that we have been able to replace that revenue as effectively as maybe what we should have. So this is one way to really consider how we do this migration from people that are going into retirement versus our newcomers. Secondly, we also noticed that conveyancing has declined. That was quite a surprise. We didn't know that that was the case. In fact, we were thinking that conveyancing had actually grown, so that was very interesting. And the other area that we noticed is that our commercial division has grown by about $149,000. So what are the key opportunities to create further growth in the commercial? Let's see if there's anything that is sort of problematic in this commercial environment. What we do notice is there's 2 periods, the August period and the April period, that need a little bit of focus. There were sort of those 2 months were in decline, and if we could have prevented that, this growth could have been a lot more significant. Do we need to know what the key drivers to the commercial growth was? So in order to do that, simply go and have a look at the various people that have contributed towards the commercial division. And here we get only the staff members that have contributed towards the commercial division. And what this also allows us to do, just simply once again through the traffic period, is have a look at which specific staff members have actually created the growth and which ones haven't. So in fact, that net growth of $149,000 was primarily due to Brian, Fabian, staff number 67, yet there were a few staff members. For example, staff number Winston has had actually declined. Automatically we can see where we've done well, where we haven't done so well. It allows us to provide some instant policy or actions decisions in relation to improving this performance. Moving our growth perspective from various business units, we can also look at our growth in relation to the different locations that we may have. This is very helpful for those law firms that may have multiple locations. That allows us to identify which locations have actually sort of done better and those that are not. Lastly, the ability what I find very valuable easily identify the various relationships we have within our customer base. In this case, we're looking at the types of customers we have between sort of company, business, estates, families, individuals, etc. And really where I believe the power is to be able to identify which people are more focused on which sort of core competency within the organization. Really that allows you to create great alignment between what people do and the value that they create for the law firm. Well, thank you. This is Andre. I hope you enjoyed very brief but hopefully valuable exercise in terms of how we can optimize our law firm revenue.